Welcome to Dwell on These Things, a podcast of Dwell Community Church in Columbus, Ohio, where we discuss whatever is honorable, pure, lovely, commendable, excellent, and praiseworthy. All right, this is Paul Alexander back again, talking this week about starting a ministry. So in a large church like Dwell, members are encouraged from day one to get equipped and get involved in works of service. There's a wide range of opportunities to get involved in a lot of different ministries, perhaps most importantly, contributing to the church planting efforts within our home churches. But what if God has burdened someone to serve a need or a specific community outside of the established ministries that we have? I've invited a couple guests today who found themselves in that situation, and God led them to start something new. Ministries that God's blessed and that the church both recognizes and encourages other members to get involved in. So with me today are Luke Walker and Sarah Fusner. Guys, thanks for coming. Before we talk about your ministries, wanted to start to build a profile of someone who would start a ministry. You know, there was dozens of options to choose from, and you guys were like, nope, doing something else. Is there a natural rebelliousness needed to start something like this?
I do think you need to be a little bit of a trailblazer, and just not be worried about, starting your own thing. And I think, I guess that's probably just the support that the church has always given its members, is that there's so much creativity in following God.
Yeah. Opening the door for that.
Yeah.
Trailblazer, that's better than rebellious. So tell us briefly about the ministries that God's led you guys to start.
Well, we have a clothing ministry where we offer free clothing to anyone in need. And we operate in a small room at the 4th Street Plaza.
What's it called?
It's called Community Clothing Outreach.
Cool.
We support people with free clothing for children, infants, all the way to adults. We provide shoes. We provide hygiene items. Yeah, we've just found it as a way of supporting the community and being involved in people's lives and meeting real needs that people have.
That's cool. And how do you get the word out about this?
I started on Facebook.
Really?
So,
cool.
Yeah, that was probably the only social media tool that I knew how to use.
Yeah.
And so I just put it out there to the different groups that I was in and told people about the needs. Whatever those needs were, we put it out on social media. We told people about who we were and what we were trying to accomplish. And people were just so supportive, and they have been.
And Luke, what do you got going on?
It's called Equip Skills Center. It's automotive classes for 11 and 19-year-olds, but we're also hoping to add other trades. And I'm not really as much of a trailblazer because this was a ministry of Youth for Christ, that the guy who had been running it for 20 years, he retired, and they needed someone else to fill the role. So I just stepped into the role there.
Were you approached about doing that?
I think I just heard about it. So there's also a used car lot connected to it, Equip Auto Sales. So we get like 200 cars donated a year, and then we figure out which ones are worth fixing and then fix and sell them, and the money goes back to fund the program.
And the fixing being done by students who you're training.
So there's 2 full-time technicians, and then the initial classes for students aren't on the cars being repaired. We have like intro and intermediate classes, but then yes, we do end up having students get to work on the cars.
Cool.
So
that's great.
Like right now, we're putting an engine in a car with these students, and they're loving it.
That's going to be put together by 11-year-olds.
Well,
I buy that one.
I think it's only like 16 and up that we really end up making it there. And then there's professional technicians who are involved in the entire process.
So you're providing quality cars that have been fixed up. You're training students on trades that could become careers, and I'm sure there's some mentoring going on there as well.
Yeah.
You run a auto shop in Columbus.
Yeah.
Was this kind of thing in the back of your mind?
Well, a lot of it was a personal burden of mine. I had a hard time in high school. Sitting through classes was cruel and unusual punishment for me. And so I ended up kind of wandering my way into a career center in high school and went with automotive, and it just ended up being a great experience for me. And just the burden for other students who are geared a similar way, I think there's a lot of routes that students can take that would actually better fit them than a 4-year, 4+ year degree.
Right?
So helping show students the opportunities that are out there that might better fit their gifts or the way they're geared.
So you had this long-term burden.
Yeah.
How did it finally become something?
There's always been a burden for me. I've always connected with students and young people who were like me in some ways, had a hard time in classes, just had...
Ornery.
Yeah, you could say that. I guess part of it, too, was during the transition period when I started getting involved, I was in an adult home church that had, like, half of our home church had been home church leaders before. And I would sit in these home church meetings and look around and see, oh my gosh, we're stacked here with all this experience. And it didn't feel right to me that I felt like God had something else, that he didn't just want me sitting in these meetings.
Equipping the already equipped.
Right. Right. So for me, there was a level of, I don't know if this is going to be what you're looking for here, but there was like a level of discontentment and like, there's something not right here. We should be out served. Like there's so many people in need in this city. We should be out there serving them. So that's kind of how it started for me. And that burden was actually a kind of a period of crisis of faith for me as well. Coming out of student ministry where my role was really clear, going into this place where it was way less clear. It appeared there was far less, at least obvious need in front of me.
God, what do you have for me?
Right. It was like, what am I doing here? And like, why? Like I'd recognized things that God had given me and that I knew he wanted me to use those things to help other people, but I just wasn't seeing it in front of me.
I imagine that a lot of ways that God will work to start things like this is through this deep felt need for change. Something's got to be different. This can't be all there is. This burden.
And I don't think it was just that he had this other ministry for me. I think there were deeper identity truths that, I've kind of always been pretty driven, and I think I draw significance from results a lot of the time. And so I think he's wanted to teach me a lot about my significance comes from him. And he's the only thing that I need to be satisfied in this life.
And isn't that God? He's teaching you these things and driving you towards something good like this. Sarah, was it similar for your thing? Were you sensing a deep need for something, or were you just a thrift store junkie? Was that is that your background?
Right. No, I think it was a little bit different because I think I focused on or kind of saw the needs first that our community has. It was at a time where I was home with the kids and we were visiting food pantries to get fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And so I was
with your kids?
Well, we were going to food pantries to get food. And so I was getting more in touch with this community of people who were, struggling, who needed to have some help with their basic needs like food. And so originally my idea was that our church should offer some type of food pantry or that we should get involved in some sort of food distribution because you can partner with the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. You can distribute food at your location if you have a bunch of training and kind of permissions and suitable storage and all that. Yeah. So I was petitioning for that, and there were just too many factors that were involved in trying to set that up. But I still saw the needs, and I still wanted to, glorify God in the community. And I just saw, like what you were saying, a wealth of resources in our midst. We have people, we have passion, we have money.
Clothes, extra clothes.
Yeah, we have way too many clothes. Yeah, so I think I saw those things, and I didn't have the idea. I just hoped to get involved with something. But a person in my community was starting a free store at a local market. And so I thought that would be something good to get involved with. And I wanted to offer to volunteer.
Is that a similar model to what you're doing now, free store?
Yeah, so the free store, can be anything from clothing to household items. So I hope to get involved, but by the time I got there, the woman who had started it had already moved on to do something else, and they had a bunch of clothes there, big piles of clothes,
Wow.
and the community was like excited and supporting, but there was no manpower to see it through. There wasn't anyone who was stepping forward to say, okay, well, we'll make this happen. And so I thought, I have plenty of friends that would do this with me, and I believe it's possible. So I rounded up people from my home church and other home churches, and we set up the clothing, we organized it, we got hangers and racks and all that we needed, and we operated out of that space for a few months until COVID got, more. We shut down at COVID, and so that was difficult because
Yeah, I bet.
I thought I saw a vision for something that was coming into fruition, and I took the clothes and donated them to the thrift store, and it just kind of broke my heart because I thought, there was something there.
Yeah.
And so,
So not all easy at first.
right.
Here God gave you an idea and
Yeah.
didn't work out
Right.
the way you thought. What's neat about both your stories there is not just an idea, but a burden for a community. Luke, a burden for students, non-traditional students with plenty of skills, but no real clear path to career or whatever. Sarah, you meeting and becoming involved with those who were struggling financially, those who were pretty unseen publicly.
Right.
Meeting these people, knowing them, seeing the need, and you guys responding on them. That's love motivation. Starting things are difficult. Sarah, you described there the difficulty of the pandemic hitting and organizing things, getting things on your own. Luke, how about you? Were there any practical barriers you've had?
Holy smokes, yeah. Yeah.
God didn't just pave this red carpet road for you.
Well, in some ways, there's been so many miraculous things that he has done. But I've almost given up several times.
Really?
So I think it's been almost 5 years. I think it was in 2017 that I started. And early on, I reached out for volunteers, and all these volunteers stepped up. It was super exciting.
Really?
And we started getting these classes going over on the west side at Youth for Christ City Life Center. So immediately there was a bunch of confirmation. And the other thing about this is I'm not strong in prayer, but this was one of the things that I was really praying about.
Got you on your knees.
Yeah, God, I know there's something you want me doing here. Please show me what it is. And so I took that as confirmation, these doors opening. But then 3, 4, 5 months in, I was super discouraged because I was trying to develop this curriculum for an intro class that would kind of help students identify if this would be a good path for them. And it just was not coming together. And it was super hectic. We've got middle school and high school students, and we're trying to come up with this thing, and they're running around like crazy. It's the students that are going to be a good fit here are often the students that are disruptive in class and stuff. So
you're disruptive. That means you're in.
Yeah. But it was getting to a point where I was just feeling really discouraged about it. There have been probably 5 times where God let me hit a wall with it. And this was the first one. And it just became real clear to me that he has to be the one doing this. Almost every one of these times that I've hit a wall, he's been pointing out, Luke, you're depending on yourself. You're trying to accomplish spiritual things and significant things apart from me. And Jesus says, apart from me, you can do nothing. And so
he hasn't let you be the master of this.
No. And it was funny because I own a large business, and I felt an amount of confidence okay, here's this used car lot that's getting donated 200 cars a year. This is going to be a slam dunk. I'm just going to come in here and just everyone's going to be whoa, this, you've done such a great job. It's, I don't know, a lot of these things can kind of bring out pride in you. It's yeah, God doesn't want that. One of the things I felt he's really shown me is he doesn't want ability. He doesn't want some super gifted person. He wants willingness and someone connected to him. So that first time with the curriculum and me just feeling really discouraged with it, he let me hit this wall. So I started praying about it, though, and I was like, God, is this, like, do you want me doing this?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like this isn't going anywhere. And then all of a sudden, after I started praying about it, it was like within 3 weeks, the curriculum just fell into place perfectly. And it's the same curriculum we're using to this day, 5 years later.
And the kids are into it, and
Yeah,
cool.
the students love it. We can train volunteers pretty easily to be able to do it. So after 6 months of it just not working, I pray about it, and then it's 3 weeks later it falls into place. And then there was another thing where there was a random woman from another church that heard about what I was doing and wanted to donate $50,000 to it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take this as confirmation, God, that you do want me to keep doing this.
Right.
And I told the woman, I was like, I can't spend your money yet, but I do want to grow this, and I think we'll be able to end up
Praise God.
having
But not until you weren't sure. It's interesting because I picked this out because for those listening that may get this burden, I see a pattern here. There's that drive and even an initial push of blessing. Given this lot, Sarah, you were given this place full of clothes with no one to run it and acted on it. But then the hard things. Was that similar for you, Sarah, the struggles with it? I bet there was others too, but
Yeah, I was just going to say that is interesting that there is like that, kind of pattern of discouragement when trying to start new things, because I think that was one of the words that I was going to mention as people are considering it is don't get discouraged. Like that's one of those battles that you have to fight constantly. And don't get overwhelmed too, because it's easy to just walk in and just be like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming.
too much to do.
Yeah. Too many needs, too much on the list and stuff like that. So,
Well,
yeah.
And I would kind of add, you probably will get discouraged.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen, but like
Right.
when it happens, bring it to God.
Yeah.
And
then it's not necessarily God saying, I'm not for this.
right.
Right.
I could imagine that being
Mm-hmm.
a reflexive response. God,
Yes.
must not.
Right. Because I think that's when it becomes tempting to give up, when you feel discouraged. And so I guess, yeah, like you said, take it to God. And there's a battle there, that there will be these battles of discouragement, and continue to take them to God, because that's the only way that you will, continue to do the work that He's hoping for, I think.
And you're talking
So-
about the time. I mean, imagine you both have lots going on, kids, home church ministry, work. And do you feel like God's helped make time for these efforts?
Yeah, the time, the energy, like I said, there's so many people that are supporting the effort. Like my husband, he's given me tons of flexibility and support and just willingness, and even just to say, go ahead and use our garage for a year. Like, let these people come in and, help them find clothes, and I'll support it. And just kind of giving freedom to these crazy schemes and stuff that I have. So there's tons of support. But one thing I was thinking about recently is I think that the free store and doing ministry like this really refreshes my parenting, because it's like, I think it puts things in perspective, that like God is so big and He cares about so many people, and look at all the ways that He can show us how to serve others and give us some meaning and purpose in life. I don't know. So it's just I think it's refreshing, and it's fun for the kids to get to see, and for them to be able to be involved in, and they get so much out of it too. There's so many people that know them and love them and ask about them and provide for them. And so, yeah.
Do they help hang up the clothes and stuff? And,
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
Cool, man.
They come and play around, that's for sure.
and what a great parenting thing to do.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, we get to serve together a lot of times, and so I think, without kind of planning it in advance, it was like, we're on this mission, we're on this ministry, like we're going to do it as a family. So that's been pretty fun.
I'm wondering, with so many needs at home in the church, like in your home groups, did you guys feel encouraged towards this when you got this vision, or were people doubtful about it, or how was this received by your friends?
I got both ends.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Some not like really clear, don't do this, but at least, people who didn't seem that excited about it. And we're like, well, we have a lot of needs in the home church. But I also had a number of people that were supportive. Brian Runk and Ryan Lowry were supportive. As the opportunities were opening up, they encouraged me to it seems like this is something.
They saw a mark of God here, maybe pushing you towards it.
Yeah. And so, which that was really encouraging. Yeah. I felt real encouraged by that.
Yeah. Sarah, how about you?
I think the home church has been really supportive. In fact, I think it's been a really helpful way of finding out people's sort of hidden giftings. Like I have several people that are involved in the Free Store ministry who I didn't really know had these certain like administrative giftings or even, just experience with clothing, who were super just able to like get things done that we were needing to get done. And so it's been a cool way to discover what people like, kind of give a diversity of options for people who have various ways that they want to serve. And it was like, we're providing a venue for these people to show those giftings. And so it's just been really cool to see people step up in those different areas that I maybe hadn't been explored before. And we don't have any like real requirements for people to volunteer. So that's been fun too, because we see people from the community or neighbors or friends or classmates or student groups come in and volunteer. And it's a way for them to experience the way that God shows us that it is more blessed to give than to receive. And so that's kind of another aspect of our ministry, is that we hope to share the love of Christ, but also give people an opportunity to give back and in a way experience God's truth, that we will be blessed in that. So the home church has been super supportive, and I think they give me extra grace because they know I'm kind of like otherwise occupied sometimes when I'm mentally thinking about things that I've got with the Free Store. But I try to give as much as I can, but I also feel like, especially during the pandemic, it was a real life source for our group to be investing in something that was still going to happen. We were like, pandemic or not, people need clothing, people, need prayer.
Maybe more than ever,
Yeah. And people that needed those type of things, they didn't let the pandemic hold them back. They were so willing to come. And since we were operating out of a garage, we were like, it's an outdoor environment. It's COVID friendly, So it was just something that kept our home church seeing needs and moving out into the community and moving out to serve people when a lot of things were being shut down and kind of locked up, So.
And the nature of your ministry is one where lots of different, you're saying even kids could help and stuff.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Luke, I'm imagining in yours, there is some specialty to helping lead. I couldn't go down there and teach them how to do fix a motor. You know what I mean? You need technicians and those who are.
Yes, although the intro classes are super basic, and we've had a bunch of volunteers who, like, a lot of them were just, they like working on cars as a hobby, or maybe they're just handy, and we're able to train them on how to lead a station pretty easily. And that you were asking about, how do you do this with busy lives?
Yeah.
I think God will provide other people too. And we have volunteers that are putting more time into it than I am. And so that's a really cool thing to see, is that it's not just about us. God will provide other people.
It's God's thing.
Right.
It's the church's thing. Yeah, Sarah, that's what I noticed with your answer too. It's part of how it's been manageable is lots of people helping you. And that helping is actually blessing them. It's blessed your home group. It's blessed those who have volunteered because they get an opportunity to serve, discover their gifts. God is multitasking in these ministries, which is neat to see. So I was wondering, Luke, Equip is officially through Youth for Christ, which we partner with, and so the partnership was pre-established. Sarah, in your case, this was something brand new. Just thinking about those who may listen in and have an idea. Can you describe the process of getting your ministry acknowledged by the church?
once the free store had been established for several months, I think that's when I started feeling like the momentum that it's developing,
Mm-hmm.
I think it could grow and be more permanent if we had a location. And I don't know how long my neighbors are going to, appreciate me having a bunch of cars coming in on Saturday mornings.
Weekly yard sales.
I know, seriously. So I had some connections with people that I knew I should talk to, and then pitched my idea or what we had going, and then I had like a long ministry application that I needed to fill out. Yeah, lots of typing. But I think, there was probably different factors that they looked at as far as, my husband and I having a long history of leading home churches and being involved in different ministries in the fellowship already. So I think those were factors that they considered. Yeah, but we put the application out there and then had several discussions, and then the idea was pitched to put it in a certain space that we needed to renovate, and they gave us some funding to be able to get established.
Cool.
And so that was the process.
But it started with you acting on it without anyone telling you to or whatever.
Right.
So this was something you were doing that, as you talked to the church, they recognized as something the church wanted to support a little more.
Yeah.
Huh. That's good. That's you were acting on your own convictions separately, and this became recognized. I think that's cool. I was wondering if you guys had advice for any listeners that are listening in. Maybe they've had this idea that's kept them up at night. Maybe they've got this burning desire to help a certain population in a certain way. From your experience getting these things going, what would you guys recommend?
Prayer has definitely been a big one. My experience with this has really helped improve my prayer life and my faith, because there've just been so many clear answers to prayer as I've been doing this. I think trying to stay connected to God as well, that's been something that's been really clear to me, that we need to abide in Christ, and apart from Him, we can do nothing. And if we're abiding in Him, that's when fruit is going to be born in our life. And so, I don't know, that connection, that relationship with God is where we're going to be able to bless other people. So stay connected to Him, pursue that relationship with Him.
Can't repeat that enough, Yep. It's cool. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that the perseverance, you'll have to keep up with it, even if you don't maybe see things coming together if the way that you envisioned. I think if you feel like it's something from God, continue to do it, because you can't always tell by the outward appearance or the outward results, or get hung up on them, I guess. A lot of encouragement and trying to get other people to see the vision that you have too. It takes a long time, for other people to see, like, this is what I'm hoping this can become, or, I'm envisioning. And so I think one thing that I've wanted to do is make the ministry easy for people to be involved in, and that the people are the main point, that we have that connection with people. We're developing a community, and that we want to put Christ in the center of that. And just to continue to remember that and to preserve that. It's definitely possible, but there's definitely some perseverance involved.
I like that point that you might not have a lot of people on board at the start. You may need to grow it before people are persuaded.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also just asking for input from other people. My wife, other people in my home church have had really good insight. I don't know, like my wife just has had a lot of really good insight that I would not have come up with on my own. And talking to other people, they've had different ideas. And so I think there's that proverb about an abundance of counselors plan succeed. And so...
And listen to your wife. That's another.
Proverbs, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Just to finish up, want to hear what's next for you guys in your ministries. Where do you see God taking what you're doing? And if you could give info on how people can get involved if they are interested.
You could definitely visit us on our Facebook page at Community Clothing Outreach. We have a page on the Dwell Ministries website, and that has links for volunteering or for donating or for getting a clothing appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Lots of ways to volunteer, sounds like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's next, do you think?
I don't know. I have visions. I have ideas.
Uh-huh.
But I would love to have, with the clothing, when we're open on Saturdays, I would love to have like a hospitality area where people could come and have coffee and breakfast and talk and connect and pray together.
Oh, that'd be great.
Because one of the things that we offer with our shoppers is to pray with them if they would like. And so that would just give so much more freedom to our conversations, and so much more time for volunteers and shoppers to connect. So I would love to see that happen. And
Cool, Sarah.
Yeah.
Pray for that.
Thank you.
Huh? What do you think, Luke?
As far as getting in touch, you could Google Equip Skills Center, and then Equip Auto Sales is the car lot if you're looking for a used car.
I got my
Here's a
16-year-old daughter's first car came from you guys recently.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. I feel like God's just kept doing bigger things than what I was originally planning on. And so it feels a little foolish me saying this right now, but my vision is pretty big for it. And if it's just to stay with what we're doing now, like I'm totally fine with that. But for me, it's just such a massive need. There's just so many young students, young adults that don't have direction with what their vocational gifting is. I feel like it has cascading effects in people's lives. Like for me, it was just pretty transformative in my life. Probably second just to God, like being able to get into something that I was good at and enjoyed. And
Apart from the 4-year college track.
right. And so there's just not a lot of good options out there. And my big picture vision would be like for this to end up serving students and adults like nationwide. Like I feel like there needs to be something out there that is helping people. And so I'm actually in the process of opening a separate business entity to train adults. Cool. So yeah, I'd like to help a broader demographic. And
it's the Equip Skills Center, so sounds like maybe branching outside of auto.
Right. Yeah. That was kind of a branding decision to name it that because we would like it to be all good vocational tracks that don't require a 4-year degree. So like for me, even things like sales, like there's people that are relationally gifted and have high emotional intelligence that maybe would have a hard time in college. But if we could help them identify that and identify some career paths that would be good fit for that. But yeah, so sales, IT, other trades, construction, plumbing, electricians, like all that stuff, feel like helping people figure out where they're gifted there.
Maybe free store management.
Entrepreneurship.
Here we go. Sarah, are you going to take yours national?
Yes, give me some young people, please. No, I need the young people. Yeah.
See, that's great.
Those are great ideas. I think too. I wonder if I'm thinking about sewing or some type of way that you could incorporate.
I actually love sewing.
I
embarrassing.
I always see you knitting at CT.
My blue collar guys at my shop admitting that.
Yeah, a lot of tailors used to be a male profession.
Oh, really?
To be a
No way.
tailor. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's so cool. I like all those ideas.
Might have forged a partnership here. That's good. That's good.
No, I can do the ideas. I can't carry anything else out. Like I can support ideas and I can come up with ideas, but I can't do anything else. Yeah.
Well, it's cool. It's neat what God's doing through your ministries, but it's also neat to hear your stories about how God brought this about. And there's an awful lot of Him you guys mentioned today, which is cool. God doing something and making a burden come to fruition. And it's neat to see your guys' how you exercise faith too and responding to that. And very cool stuff. guys. Thank you. Really grateful for you both taking time to speak with us today and for your encouraging example of letting God work through you in a creative and pioneering way. Grateful, too, for Dwell Community Church's commitment to both equip and mobilize its members to discover God's plan for them, even with something as small as this podcast. Praise God. For those interested in learning more about the Community Clothing Outreach or the Equip Skills Center or any of Dwell's other support ministries, check out dwellcc.org/ministries. And I'm grateful for you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to be alerted whenever a new episode comes out, click the subscribe or the follow button. Until then, press on.